Welcome everyone to another episode of There's Just Something About Kansas City. And I have to admit, we're in a different venue than we normally are, and I am way out over my skis today because of this young lady sitting right beside me. Of course, it's Joyce Donato. Multi-Grammy Awards. She's also international opera star. And I just can't tell you, Joyce, how great it is that I'm sitting here next to you, knowing everything I know about you and the fact that you are just Joyce from Kansas. I just love that.
From Prairie Village. I'm freaking out because I watched you growing up and it was like, what did the Royals do tonight? What's Frank got to say about it? You were such a part of our family growing up. So I'm very excited to be here. And I love that you're doing this for Kansas City. I love that we're getting this kind of snapshot about this amazing, vibrant city that I sort of feel is like finding herself again.
Yeah, it has. It's gone through some transitions even since I've been here. I've been here since 1981. And it has gone through its ups and downs. But right now, it is phenomenal, the trajectory that this city is on in this part of the state.
I flew in the other day and I was kind of a little bit jet lagged and I was flying and I was getting off the plane and I walked in, I was like, yeah. And then I went, this is the new airport. And I knew it was coming and I knew it had been open, but I hadn't sort of put the pieces of the puzzle together. And I was so proud walking through there. I mean, I miss a little bit the short jet to get your baggage, just a little bit.
I knew you were going to say that.
A little bit, but then I feel like it represents Kansas City so well. It felt so vibrant. It felt like there's the barbecue, there's the jazz, there's a great bookstore, and I just thought it's great art. Put out. It looked like it was done really well, and I thought, this is a destination now.
Yeah, it is, and it's interesting because without the airport, no NFL draft. And no World Cup 2026. So the airport, those two events hinged on Kansas City getting a new airport. And they let us know right away, we're not going to bring the draft there unless you have a better airport than you have. So despite that short distance, not only to the luggage, but then also from the luggage to the front sidewalk, it's sort of all gone now, but it's okay because the rest really worked out.
You lose some, you win some, but I feel like it was a big gain. I feel like it's a big gain for Kansas City.
How often do you get back to KC?
About last time I was here was April for a slaughtering of the Kansas City Royals against the New York Yankees. And I come back at least once a year.
Okay.
And I've been really always trying to make sure that I come and sing once a year if I can. And it's a little tricky because I always wish I had more time around my stops over here, but I love it, and it's always, I get the updates from my family, and I feel like I keep in close touch.
Yeah, how much of my wife and I both know Paul very well, okay? And
Paul is my brother.
It's her brother, Paul. And
my big brother.
Your big brother. Well, you were the sixth of seven.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of elder statesmen in the family besides you. How about the rest of the family in the suburbs? Are a lot of them still here in Kansas City?
So 4 of the siblings are based here.
Okay.
My oldest sister was, for over 30 years, the grade school music teacher at St. Anne's, where we all went to school, where my dad was the church choir director for years, where my parents were married in 1955. So that legacy of that is quite established. And I have a sister that teaches tennis in one of the clubs. My brother lays brick all over the city and charms people with his amazing personality. And my sister Emily has worked in Rockhurst High School and for advertising companies. So we have a really good infiltration and into various parts of the city. So we grew up in Prairie Village, but we've gone to Lenexa and all different parts.
Branched out a little bit. Well, talk a little bit about growing up. I know that's a big family, big Irish family.
Yeah.
Seven. You had 6 siblings. You were 6th of the 7. Yeah. So you were sort of, if this happens correctly in most families, the oldest one is always the one that's the golden child for all practical purposes. And then the youngest one, mom and dad are so tired by that time, that one just gets forgotten. And they're spoiled rotten, okay? That one's just, sure, do whatever you want, we're tired or whatever. So how was that in your family? And how great was it growing up with that kind of a clan?
It was not far from that. My dad was an architect and worked from home. But not the greatest businessman, I have to say. And so his priority was always more about the art and the work itself and not kind of ambition. And my mom stayed home for so long to take care of the 7 of us. And so there were some real struggles financially. And so that meant from the time of about 13 on, most of us were working second and third job. Well, I mean, we had school and then we would work a part-time job or another. And so from 13, I was starting to work. Most of us worked in restaurants. Tippin's Pie Pantry put a lot of us through high school and college. And so it was a real sort of that work ethic in the family. If we wanted to go on summer vacation, we all had to contribute. And so it was not always easy. But I think all of us, we knew if we wanted to go to college, if we wanted to get married and have a wedding, we kind of had to make it happen. And so I think all the 7 of us really learned what it is to kind of work hard.
Yeah.
And that for sure is one of the reasons I've been able to do what I do, is because I'm not afraid of hard work.
Yeah, and it has been, as we will talk about your career as well, and some of the struggles that you went through to become the star, the international star. Which I know you don't like to hear that, but the international star that you are, because it wasn't, one of these, the shooting star type thing. It took you a long time to get where you ended up and where you are today. Talk a little bit about, you said your dad was the choir director? He was. So is that where was everybody in the family musical, or was it just you, or was it, there were several siblings also that were?
It was a huge musical family. And we had, my brother Paul was in the basement with his friends listening to AC/DC and Def Purple. And,
love AC/DC.
All of that, yeah. So that was coming from the basement, along with a few other things. And then, the middle floor was where our piano was. And my 2 oldest sisters both went to college as in piano performance. I feel like I was sort of playing the piano before I was almost walking, because I was over there going, what's this do? And there was always this kind of live music happening throughout the house as well. And my father was working in the office with KXTR, playing the classical music. Yes. Absolutely.
Oh, we need that back.
Yeah.
By the way.
And upstairs, my sisters had her LP, and it was Fleetwood Mac and Barbra Streisand and Billy Joel. And so we had and cocktail hour on Sunday was big band. So we had Glenn Miller going in the middle. And so there were all these layers, the language of music was always there. And then my father, on Wednesday nights and on Sunday, and especially around Easter and Christmas, it was all about the choir. And it had a huge impact on me, because it's how I experienced sort of the basis of faith and liturgy was through the musical world of it. And then I went into high school at Bishop Miege, and my place was in the choir and in the theater department.
You knew that.
I knew
early
it.
on, and that's what at that point, now you're only, 15 years old at that point, 14, 15 years old. Did you know that was going to be a trajectory for life, or you just really enjoyed it? It was almost like an extracurricular activity, or was it something you had a real passion for?
I had a real passion, and I knew it never occurred to me that it wouldn't be a part of my life.
I get it.
What I was certain of at 16, 17 is that I would be a high school music teacher, a choral teacher.
Like your sister.
She did grade school,
right?
Yeah,
Elementary school,
but like Mr. Wolf, who was my teacher at Bishop Miege, because it was the choir experience there. It just completely opened up my worldview. We were singing in other languages. We were singing music from 2 and 3 centuries before. We were singing about love and joy and sorrow and death and all of this. And it was a real instrument for me to sort of, during those adolescent years, try to at least feel like I wasn't going off the axis of the earth. That as a human being, I was tethered to something There was a bigger human condition at play. I mean, and I'm putting, a 54-year-old
Sure.
look on that, but I think there was something so profound about that experience that it tethered me into the world when I didn't really know where else my place was.
Sure.
And it was also community. It's why, this is maybe for another podcast, but we have sports everywhere in this country, which
Teams.
is great,
Right.
But it's competitive. And a choir is coming together in a team using your total unique voice, but combining it with others. You take away your voice and it's not the same choir. So everybody's needed, but you're working together for something bigger. And simply for the joy and the exercise of expressing something and sharing it. That's different than sports.
Right.
And I'm a huge sports fan. Sports is competition. We got to win, got to get the other guy.
Right.
You suck, we're great,
Sure.
And in the choir world, it was everybody was welcome. And it was, how can we create something even more beautiful and bigger? And it was a lifeline for me, really, like literally a lifeline for me.
Was it a social thing for you as well? Meaning, when you have guys playing football or baseball or whatever, they call that their fraternity.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys go to college to play football, they're not in a fraternity. I've got my fraternity. They're all my teammates.
Yeah.
Was that what it was like for you? It was very social for you as well.
Very much.
Besides being, what you wanted to do.
No, those are your people, like-minded people. And, the last concert of the senior year, we're all crying. We're not singing, we're crying. We'll never have anything like this again. And it was family. And it tends to, I think sometimes in the art world, it can feel a little bit more like misfits, a little bit people that are a little bit on the edge, and that this is a place where they're something that maybe doesn't fit into like normal society. They're a little bit weird. They're a little bit off the center mark. They're welcome in a place like that.
Yes.
They're welcome to express who they are. And I know it's a lifeline for so many people. And it's not just to find community, but there's something really, really powerful about moving emotion through you on your breath, phonating it and putting it out into the world. We're sometimes taught to keep stuff in, right? And this is, you have permission to sing about love or despair or fear or joy. And it's just, I see it very much, especially the longer I go in this, I see it very much as medicine.
Right. Was there a lot of your kind of passion? Could you see it in the other members of your choir in high school, or were you more passionate than a lot of the others?
I'll tell you a story. It falls into the pathetic category, but I don't care. The first week of high school at Bishop Miege, right? Pretty important week in the life of an adolescent. First week of high school. And I had been waiting for like 2 years for this because it meant you could audition for the musical. And Miege did really good musicals. And so I worked up my part. I was memorized. I was ready to go. And I was singing Wouldn't It Be Loverly from My Fair Lady.
That's right.
So Eliza Doolittle, she's, a flower maiden in London. And then she turns into this gorgeous princess. I didn't pick the princess song. I was the, the ashen,
flower girl on the street.
And my dad dropped me off. And we were auditioning in the library at the time because they didn't have an auditorium. And it was 7:00 on a Wednesday night, my third day of high school. And I walked into the library, and the first person I see is Joel Carlton, who was a junior.
Okay. I like this.
And the next thing I noticed,
a
leading man. And the next thing I noticed was nobody else was in costume. I had put on my mom's gardening hat, her kitchen apron. I had a basket full of plastic flowers. I showed up in costume. If none of you are familiar with high school auditions, you don't show up in costume. And I was so mortified, but I remember, Frank, thinking, aren't these people committed?
Yeah. Right.
Don't they want that? Don't they understand what it takes, you know? And I had no idea what I was doing, but I felt like it was something strong in me that I wanted to be there.
But if I'm the director, you got the role. I mean, I look around at everybody else and just go, oh, heck with them. I'm going to take her. She already showed up in costume.
I don't think it had anything to do with how I sang or what I did. I just think they felt sorry for me. We got to give her something, you know. But it was just, But I remember thinking, aren't they taking this seriously? So
yeah. Did anyone else from that choir follow your path in music and become or use it as a career or anything of that nature that you can remember?
I have some colleagues from college that did it, but I don't think from high school. But a lot of teachers and a lot of people that, some sports folks. We were very good in volleyball.
Yes, very.
Very good in volleyball.
Girls basketball.
Yeah, and
always
basketball
terrific.
Yeah,
girls basketball.
yeah.
Yeah, so BA's is an incredible place now. It really is an incredible school. I mean, it was always a good school, but now it's just, boy, they've gone up and over the top. It's a great place. Yeah,
I'm so happy to hear that.
Really good place. Yeah, their football program, basketball program, they're all very, very successful.
Music program.
I'm sure the music program is as well, okay? So from there you get to, I don't know, your junior or senior year, and you're starting to think about college at this point.
Yeah.
And I know you ended up at Wichita State. We'll talk about why Wichita State, but was there any other school on your radar? KU, MU?
No. So my older sister
wow,
went to
okay.
K-State.
Okay.
So that would have been an option. We were not allowed to like KU.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know where that comes from. MU was never on our radar screen for whatever reason. But Wichita State is where my college teacher went to college.
And that was?
Mr. Wolf,
Mr.
Carl
Wolf. Okay.
And he was always in contact with Dr. Boughton, who ran the choral program at Wichita State. I drove up to Minnesota, and I looked at a Catholic school up there. Who knows where my life would have gone in that? I think it was a girls' college, I think.
Okay.
And it was primarily a teacher's college. Right. So I was thinking, maybe if it's more teaching, I'll go there. And it just, there was something about Wichita State, the choral program, the legacy from mine. It spoke to me. Yeah,
and really, in your mind, you wanted to become a teacher and then maybe play musical theater or whatever, but your mind was you wanted to be a little bit like your sister, correct? You wanted to go and you wanted to teach.
I wanted to be the cool high school choral teacher, absolutely. And at that point, I would do the musicals, I would do plays at Meja, and I loved being on stage, and I loved the choral concerts. I never thought of myself as having any possibility of doing it as a profession.
Right.
It wasn't on my radar screen at all. So I just thought, I'm going to college, I'm going to be a teacher.
And so you were thinking maybe you'd end up coming back to Kansas City or whatever, right?
Probably.
Yeah, that's probably because everybody was here, so your family was here.
And that's what you did.
Yeah, sure.
You went to college and you came back home and you start a family and you do all of that.
Okay, so here comes the pass. One path goes this way, one path goes this way. One path comes back up north, and the other path goes, we don't know where, but where did that all come from, and when did you change your mind about what your career was going to be?
So it was as I did 5 years at Wichita State, and it was sort of the third year that I was taking voice lessons in order to then teach it, to a choral group. And I was finishing my ed degree, music ed. And I was getting more and more really fascinated with this classical music vocal. My dad would go to the William Jewell programs. He'd listen to the Met Opera. It never really caught me by listening to it. I didn't really get the opera thing. I didn't understand. They were like, ooh, I don't know what that is. But as I was studying the mechanism, the technique of what this is meant to do, and then I was starting to sing music that was really profound and dealing with really the human condition in its essence. It just sort of lit my world on fire. And I wasn't particularly good, but there was something in me that I was like, I love this. And I started doing a little bit more work with the opera department, sort of on the side, with a fantastic opera director, George Gibson, who was just a mensch in the best way. And I went through I got my degree. I did my student teaching at Wichita, and I was in two really, really rough schools, high school in the morning and an elementary school in the afternoon, and poor and huge challenges. And I saw these kids, and I just thought, they need great teaching. I think I have to do this. And I went to my dad, and I'll never forget, I said, Dad, I'm really torn because I love being on stage. But I think I need to be in the classroom, but I love this. Growing up Catholic, I thought, I love it, must not be good.
The guilt comes out. Okay, what'd I do? Where's the lightning bolt to the window?
Totally, totally. And, he really gave me the key to opening up the rest of my life. And he said, Joyce, he said, there's more than one way to teach people. There's more than one way to educate and communicate and reach them. And that was license for me to follow this thing that I loved. But he sort of gave me a North Star.
Yeah.
That said, go in that direction, but don't forget why you're doing it.
Yeah. So Dad was very, very influential from a very, very early age, right?
Yeah, very much.
So you are a mezzo-soprano. Now, believe me, now I'm really out over my skis, okay? So you did not start as a mezzo-soprano, correct? Because somewhere along the line you had to change because you weren't getting to where you wanted to go, right?
So, yes, yeah.
Now, this isn't right after college. It's about your mid-20s somewhere, right?
Let's say 26.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're starting to apply and do things and sing or whatever, and people are saying, nah.
They're kind of, yeah, 100%. I mean, I've always sort of gone into the category of mezzo-soprano. That's just the range of where I sing. But it was, I would do a big competition, and I would come in 6th. Okay. So a little bit of encouragement, but not that.
Yeah.
And other people, especially the kind of voice that I have, which blooms a little bit earlier than some of the bigger voiced opera folks, other people were starting to pass me by. And people, the folks I was studying with, I kind of confounded them. They didn't know what to do with me. And I still am not sure why I stayed at it. But there was this kind of Irish defiance, and I kind of stayed with it. And at 26, through hard work, but a lot of luck as well, a couple things had to happen for me to end up. I got into a really coveted position at the Houston Grand Opera as one of the young artists.
Right. And this is after a couple of years of, I got to go a different way here. I've got to do something else in order to attract people's attention.
Well, and this frustration of why don't they see it? Yeah. Why don't they get it? Everything I have inside of me, why don't they see it?
Or do you see during auditions or whatever, you see somebody else go, I'm better than she is. I'm better than that. I'm better than that.
In some cases, yes. I always looked at it very objectively. I can do that better, but I don't have that yet.
Okay.
And I would always look without, I thought the more information I have, the more I can learn.
Yeah.
The more I can improve. So I never shied away from that's not, I don't do that well. Okay, I need to work on that. But I do that really well. I'm going to do that even more. That kind of thing.
Sure.
Which is, part of just the business of being a singer. Yeah. You have to know what you do well.
That's business, period.
Period.
Yeah,
and know your unique worth.
Know your lane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stay in your lane. I'm sorry. Know your audience and stay in your lane.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, or at least know how to pass well.
Yeah.
So my first lesson, my first week, the first week, when I was in the Houston Opera Studio, I took a lesson with the teacher who was assigned to me, and he vocalized me for about 4 minutes, and he said, Joyce, I can see you're really talented. I can see you're really smart, but there's no future in the way you're singing because you're singing on youth and muscle.
Okay.
Here we get into sports world too.
Sure we do, yeah.
And that's only going to last so long. And because I was just old enough and it was just hard enough, I knew he was right. And so I said, okay, let's fix it. And it was a 3-year turnaround process. Wow. I mean, imagine a pitcher who has to rework its technique.
Yeah.
Right? You have to, first of all, let go of the muscle memory of how you always did it. Then you have to relearn the new technique. And then there's a period you have to start trusting it.
Right.
And then you have to make it yours. So it was like a 3-year process. And I was 29 around when that finished. I left the Houston Opera studio. Nobody wanted to represent me as a manager. Everybody else in the studio who I was with got management except me. And I went to Europe and I did a competition that's run by Placido Domingo. Wow. And somebody heard me there and said, I think you're going to be a huge star and I want to represent you worldwide. Wow. It's from London. I'd never heard that language before. I was leaving the studio. I was working in Kentucky, Tulsa, and Arizona. And I thought, that's going to be my career. And you know what? That's great. Because I don't have to wait tables anymore.
Right, okay, sure.
I think I'll be able to pay my rent.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he just blew that wide open. And I thought, what are you talking about? He goes, no, you're going to be a big star. And he's the first one who really saw it.
Wow.
And because of that sort of 3-year process of really, really going deep to figure out the technique and then trusting it, when it broke, I was ready.
Yeah, and being said no to, and refusing, and knowing you were talented, and refusing to give it up. Okay, because I know you probably had a fallback plan of some kind, right? You might teach or maybe do Tulsa or Frankfurt, Kentucky.
I can always go back and wait tables. I still feel that. Like I was like, hi, my name is Joyce. I'll be your server tonight. If there's anything else you can.
Hi, I'm Joyce from Kansas. Yeah, and I'll be glad to. Don't I know you? No. That must have been somebody else. Must have been my doppelganger. So you then, I just can't. So what was your first opera that you can remember where you're going to step out onto a stage of a major metropolitan opera company from somewhere in the world, and I'm it. I am it. I'm on the program. I'm on the marquee. I'm everywhere.
Okay, I don't think that. You're making me nervous, like that. There's two things that stand out when you ask me that question. And the first is, I was actually a cover. I was an understudy. And I was covering a huge role in a Handel opera at the Chicago Lyric Opera.
Okay.
And it was a starry cast. It was like the top singers in the world. Renee Fleming, Natalie Dessay, Jennifer Larmore. And I was just a cover. But I remember sitting, the understudies, we sit in the back corner. We don't talk to anybody. You don't talk to the stars. You just kind of show up. And if you have to do something, you do it, and then you disappear. But I remember sitting in that corner just thinking, and this was right when I'd left Houston. So I was about 29. And I just said, if I had to go on with this starry cast, I could hold my own. And that was a mental shift that I made. It's like, I'm ready. And it wasn't, I didn't go on, I didn't get applause or anything, but it was a shift in my mental world about how I saw myself. And I think that had to happen. Because for so long I was in the mentality of, why don't they get it? Why don't they get it? Why don't they see it? What's wrong? What am I not doing enough of? And I needed that gear shift to propel me. And then one of the first major things I did in Europe was at La Scala, which is in Milan, in Italy. And it's the lion's den.
That's it.
Yeah, and there's all these horror stories of being booed and especially
Sounds
as an
like
American.
Philadelphia.
Totally. Yeah. Or it's like, it's totally. Right. And I was doing the lead role in a Rossini opera. I was in the second cast, but it was still, I was going to have to get out and I'd do the finale of the opera and everything. And I remember thinking, okay, Joyce, if you open up your mouth and they start booing, what are you going to do? I'm going to keep singing. I'm going to keep singing. I'm going to keep singing. I didn't have any rehearsal time. So I just went out there with no rehearsal. And I'll never forget, they didn't boo, and it was going well, and it was going well, and it was going well, and it all leads up to the last aria, the grand finale. And I have to do a entrance where I'm way upstage, right in the center, and a scrim comes up, and I appear, and then I make this long walk down to center stage, and then I sing. And there was this old Italian pro who walks me, and he took my hand, and he goes, you got this. And I went out, and then I saw the conductor, Bruno Campanella, down in the front, and when the fireworks happened, the aria, he just went, and it was like they were on my side. And there was a huge ovation, and I knew I was ready, but there's always you never know how they're going to like it. This is the weird thing about opera is, you know, it's different than sports, right?
Right.
We don't get a score. We don't have a winner and a loser. And you can be considered a great singer and other people will go, I don't get it.
Yeah. You'll still read about it in the paper the next day, though.
Yeah, I did well. Okay. I did well.
There won't be a box score there, but you're going to read about how you did.
But it's an opinion.
Yeah.
It's not like he struck out, you know,
Right,
the last three bad.
Yeah.
It's like, it's still like, oh, her top or the this or the that. And it's always subjective what we do. And so there has to be a kind of mental discipline about no matter what, I'm going to do what I do. And that has to be enough.
Sure.
And it's frightening and it's exhilarating and it's frightening.
And then it exploded. Then everything for probably at least the next decade or so just really was, you performed in with every great symphony orchestra, with every great opera company, in every great venue in the entire world. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question. What's your favorite venue you have ever done an opera in?
Okay, this is no lie. I love the Kaufman Center.
Okay.
And it is really one of the best acoustics in the world. I can kind of say that.
Right.
And I love coming home here, and I love that. And it's also nerve-wracking, but I love it.
Yeah, because you're home.
Yeah. There are a few places that are so historic and so filled with ghosts, like good ghosts of the past. Mm-hmm. Carnegie Hall is one of those. The Teatro Colón in Argentina is one of those that it's one of those, you walk on and you feel everybody that's come before you, and you feel the part of the kind of legacy you are a part of. Mm-hmm. The Concertgebouw in Amsterdam is that you're standing on the stage where Mahler debuted and conducted some of his symphonies in that space. And it is, these feel like temples in a way. And
they are.
They are. Mm-hmm. You're right, they are. And you just have this sense of, oh, now it's my turn. And tomorrow it will be somebody else's turn, but tonight I have a responsibility.
Right.
And those are the places I love to be.
Yeah, that's incredible. And then London.
Yeah.
Huge as well, huge. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Right, exactly. There are, now, because I've been around a while now. Yeah. And, I've sung in London a lot and Vienna a lot and those places that are filled with music all the time. New York, it's all the time. I've started now making sure I put in my calendar some off the beaten track places. And in particular, this last year, I was in like Katowice in Poland. Mm-hmm. I was in Riga in Latvia. These places that don't always get, that they have 3 choices on a Friday night about what they want to hear. Right. And I'm loving singing for these audiences that are so appreciative of something really special coming to them.
Right. And they're starved for it too.
Yeah.
They want it.
They want it. And they appreciate it. They don't take it for granted.
Right.
I love London, I love Vienna, but there is a little bit,
or
Paris, like, oh yeah, who is it tonight, And it's fine. And I love singing there, and I have a relationship with the audiences that I love. But there is something exhilarating about singing for people that don't have it all the time.
Yeah. And you are an activist for all practical purposes. And you take that to heart. I know you did In War and Peace after the Paris attacks. You did that, and that probably touched your heart very much to be able to do that there. And, in that kind of a situation. And one of the last performances there, I think it may have been the last performance, you ended up talking to Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah.
After that concert was over. What was she like, and what was that like for you to meet her?
Well, this was a 3-year project that I did, and it was the first one that I sort of produced and curated. I was meant to do an entirely different, very operatic program, and this terrorist attack in 15 happened and it was one of several that had been going on, and I just thought, when is it going to be enough? And my work, my instrument, the material I work with goes back centuries. And it's been singing about the same thing that I was reading in op-eds, or that people were protesting about, or, war. When is it going to be enough? Or I want revenge. I want revenge. I want my due. Or I give up. I can't take it anymore. I mean, all these emotions that are around these things, it's been happening for centuries. And I thought, I want to use this music that I believe comes from some kind of higher place. Mozart, Handel, Gluck, they were connected to something. I don't profess to know what it is, but I know it's something bigger than myself. And so I put together this program to really go to start in, at the time, I think it was 2016 that we launched it, or 17, in the heat of all this chaos and conflict, and to really throughout 2 hours in the concert hall go into a place of light, deliberately. And it was really an extraordinary journey. And and we went on 4 continents. We went North America, Europe, Asia, and South America. But I knew I wanted to end in the belly of the beast in DC. And we went to the Kennedy Center, and it was our last concert. And Justice Ginsburg came to the concert.
Wow.
And the next morning it was one of her last talks.
Yes, that's what I thought.
And she met me walking in as we were going to do the talk in the morning, and she was very soft-spoken. You had to work very hard to catch every word, because she didn't waste any syllable. And so I was leaning over, and she said, "Thank you for last night. For 2 hours, I forgot about all the briefs sitting on my desk."
Oh, that is wonderful. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? That is the bottom line for everything that you do. That is it. You make people transform from being out here and having all these problems to sit down and I can enjoy this and just be mesmerized by what's going on.
So I think my activism is born in that I get so angry that we have all the tools at our disposal for peace, for community, for calm, for, what I love about a concert or an opera is that 2,000 people from all different backgrounds, well, maybe not all different backgrounds, but a lot of different belief systems, a lot of different points of view of looking at the world, a lot of different, everybody comes in with a different life experience at that moment. And we all agree to sort of take a journey together. And we have, in the case of my world, these masters that are leading us in this music. And I've gotten a little bit impatient, and so I challenge my audiences, not every time, but I'm not afraid to sit here and say, what are you going to do to take this feeling home with you? It's not enough right now to just escape for 2 hours in a lovely concert hall.
Go live it.
Take it home and cultivate it and nourish it in your home. And then maybe your block. And then, it's very naive, but it's possible. And we have such an amazing example in this music, and the harmony and the discord and the disharmony and how it resolves and how it struggles and how it breathes. It's the human experience. And I want to challenge people that experience that to say, go home and live it a little bit more.
Very, very interesting as well, too, which I thought was the Lullaby Project.
Oh.
Okay, with the, you were encouraging single moms in the Bronx to go home and write what you sing to your children.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them weren't singing a normal, lullaby. Their kids, they were singing something they had in their own mind or whatever. And you told them to go home. What was that like, and what kind of results did you get from those women who were, a lot of them were in very, very dire straits, as we can just imagine, probably tons of single moms, if not all of them, to go home and try to have enough joy in your life to be able to have your child and then sing to them?
It's an incredible project, and I just want to make sure it's not mine. I got involved with it, but it was set up by Carnegie Hall, the Weil Institute at Carnegie Hall, and some amazing visionaries there, because they were noticing that, at the time, particularly single teenage moms, they were not bonding with their kids. Shame, guilt, stress, economic issue, no help from the family. Oh, all these elements.
No time, no money.
No time. Imagine. And they thought, how can we, as like a music institute, how can we help? And they decide to sit down with these moms and help them write a lullaby to their kid and get it recorded. Bonding happened. The moms were able to articulate, I love you. There's one song that I sing, it's like, I feel you and I hope I'm not squishing you at night. She's speaking as she's pregnant, and I'm just wishing you peace tonight. And it is transformative, not only for these moms, but the kids then start to grow up, sing my song. And that's such a beautiful thing. And it's gone out, they do it in prisons. They have expanded across the globe. I do some work with an amazing organization in Athens at a refugee camp, and it's part of El Sistema, Greece. And they've started songwriting with the mothers there in the camp, and it is transformative.
Wow.
There's a mother, this is an unbelievable story. It's a family from Sierra Leone, and they came with 2 boys, and she was pregnant. And her husband, so a family of 4 and a half. And she came from a really horrible family, and she was about to be indoctrinated into this cult where there's genital mutilation and and they were going to put her in a place of leadership. And they decided to flee, but they could only take 2 of their 4 kids with them.
Oh my God.
She left 2 kids behind. And she wrote a song, and they performed it, and the whole family, the family of 4 was there listening to this being performed. And it was, they wept through it. But for that family there, it was so therapeutic. It was a place for them to work through this incomprehensible, tragic life, but in a way that but life still is going on. Life is still moving forward. And how are you going to stand up and make the best of whatever it is, even though it's so horribly wrong that it's not everything?
Yeah.
And I've started doing this now. I have a new project called Eden, where I'm getting the kids in youth choirs, we've done 40 cities so far, to write their own music. And it teaches them to, first of all, express something, and not just, to express something, to take ownership of their thoughts through music, and to share it with people, and to stand up and sing it. And I just know that this is such a sane, potent medicine in going forward for the world.
Yes.
And it has to start with the kids.
Yeah. And have them, whatever kind of music they like is what they're going to express in that kind of music.
Could be anything.
Anything, absolutely.
In
right,
Milan, we were doing Eden in Milan, and we went into a juvenile facility with kids, and most of them were Moroccan and refugee kids that had been put into this thing. And I was singing Ombra Mai Fu with 8 string players, which is Handel, written 400 years ago. Ombra Mai Fu. It's very tranquil, it's very beautiful. It's about sitting under a tree. And this 16-year-old kid from Morocco got up in Spanish and started freestyle rapping over it. About, Mom, I'm so sorry. And he was like, your mama. I mean, I don't know how it was. Obviously, I don't do this. But he was really into it. And the other 16 kids were really encouraging him. I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you. It's been 4 months since I've heard your voice. I miss you. I'm sorry. I should have listened to you. And he was just, for 5 minutes, he was just freestyling. And he kept telling us to play louder. So he had
to
more.
Mix it. He could mix it.
And it was amazing.
Yes.
And I thought, this is a whole nother project.
Wow.
That's
phenomenal.
But where are kids being given the chance now to express who they are in a safe way?
Yeah, and you also express yourself different ways. You have song play. Came out, you won a Grammy for song play, but singing jazz and Latin and doing all that sort of thing. So, you're not just in that one venue. You use your voice in many, many different ways. So, congratulations on song play.
Thank you.
Which was just incredible. Yeah.
That's very much a tribute to like my house.
Yes.
All these different styles of music. It's really that's what I was born into.
And I was out there. Game 7, 2014. You weren't a jinx. Okay, you weren't a jinx.
Okay.
You sang the national anthem before Game 7 when they played the Giants, and you could have gotten Madison Bumgarner to stay in the dugout somehow or whatever, but he didn't. He came back out and the Royals lost the game, but it's okay. Well, what was that? What was that being back here and then to sing, and you love baseball, to be able to sing here in Kansas City in the World Series?
It was just about the most freaking great day of my life. And it was not even a childhood dream, because I don't know, I just like, who dreams that? It was the coolest thing. I mean, the other thing besides music in my family was the radio and the Royals games every summer. And we would get peanuts and listen on the radio. Danny Matthews, amen.
That's it.
I'll never forget it. I think it was 1977. It was the first time we went to a Royals game, all 9 of us, which was a big deal. We were in the last row, way up there. Dennis Leonard was pitching, and he was that big. And we were like, and there was Amos Otis, Cookie Rojas, Daryl Porter,
Freddie
Patek. I mean, my sister and I shared a room, and the first thing we would do is get the newspaper in the summer and quiz each other on the box scores. Oh, wow. What did Hal McRae do? Oh, he went, 3 for 4.
Sure.
And, well, who was the third baseman?
Oh, yeah. I forget that guy's name, yeah. What number did you wear?
It was
5.
I mean,
I forget what that kid's name was.
It was just, that was my.
Especially he was just getting started.
Yeah.
George Brett was.
Yeah. He was. I mean, yeah. I remember all of it. And Amos Otis was my favorite player. So his was the jersey that I wore. I wore his number for the World Series. I don't know why he was, but he was. John Mayberry, that stretch from first base.
Big John was a great guy too. Just a good guy.
Tell him I said
Wonderful
hi.
man. I will. I'm sure go, I remember Joyce.
And Frank White. I mean, just all of it. And so it was, I'm a fair weather Chiefs fan. I'll be honest. Like, I love it. I'm glad when they're doing well. But, like, I'm a Royals girl.
Yeah.
And it just, so when that happened, and they were playing so well, and it was such a good team, that whole thing. And I loved singing the anthem. I was nervous. But the best part was being
where you have sung in your life, where you've done your operas and you're nervous at the K.
Dude, it was 7th game of the World Series. Of course I was. But it was arriving at the theater, at the stadium, before anybody else was there, because you had to get there early for a sound check. And it was that, they were doing the lawn. Getting there was quiet, but you knew that something, and it was a steady crescendo, the opening, and watching them take batting practice and being out on the field with knowing what was coming, and you start to see them come. It was exhilarating. Gosh. And it didn't turn out well, but it turned out well the next season, which was great.
Well, the national anthem turned out great.
It was not bad.
It was
not bad.
It was great. Okay, so athletes have superstitions.
No.
Do opera singers have superstitions?
Sure, but I decidedly don't.
Oh, you don't?
No.
So you have a superstition to not have a superstition. Do you realize that?
You're right. You're right.
No, I got to warm up with a certain...
No.
Okay.
Because it's such a precarious thing that I do. I mean, we travel all the time. We're always in different hotels and different warm-up rooms and different scenarios. If I was sort of obsessed with this kind of rigidity, I have to keep myself really fluid. Okay. And then that's where I guess that's my superstition of like, whatever, it's all good.
Sure,
whatever. I can make it work anyway.
Try to pretend you're not nervous.
Well, sort of.
You're trying to pretend you don't have a superstition. That's what you're trying to do. See,
well,
Joyce?
I like feeling like no matter what the situation is, I'll be okay.
Okay.
That's kind of where I put the frame of mind I put myself in.
And it is interesting because we opened with this. I'm just Joyce from Kansas, and to me it is fascinating. You have taken this city and this area around the world with you as, I'm Joyce from Kansas. And everybody probably looks at you in awe because a lot of these singers come from Paris, or they come from Genoa, or they come from Argentina. But you come from Prairie Village, Kansas. I mean, what do you tell people about this city, Prairie Village, growing up here and getting to be?
I brag about it all the time. I mean, it's very funny because the way it comes to me is sometimes in interviews, people are like, oh, but you're from this Prairie Village. What is this village you are from? I was like, well, it's not really a village, but okay. It's not really a prairie. You have the cows here.
Yeah,
you say.
right.
No,
the
there's not
horses
really
in downtown running in the streets. Huh?
Not really. I brag about things like the restaurant scene, the Art Institute.
Yes.
I mean, one of my best friends who runs an orchestra that I work with a lot is a huge art snob. I mean, he was an art historian. He's Italian. He's from Naples. And he came and we did our first concert here. And he comes to the concert. He goes, Joyce, my Joyce, what is this museum you have here? Why you never tell me about this? It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I'm like, I know, Julio, I tell you that all the time. Like, he didn't believe me. So it's this sort of thing, like, you have to come. You have to experience it yourself, and it takes you by surprise. I will still get, like, conductors, like, where did you learn the German? The German you sing is very good. You're from Kansas. How is this possible? I'm like, well, we have a good education in Kansas. Like, I went to Bishop Miege. Thank you very much. So I wear it very proudly. And I think a lot of times people ask me about it. And the way I describe it is, we don't take ourselves too seriously, but we take our work seriously. We work hard. And I think in general, we do it with great humility because we realize everybody is a part of the team.
Right.
Everybody's a part of making it happen. And so when it's my turn to produce, I mean, I had better do it at the highest level. But I'm equally as important as, the stage manager or the whatever.
Lighting guy, whatever.
Yeah.
There is. And there is one other thing you do take with you and take Kansas with you, is after every recital at the end, for your encore, for the recitals, you sing.
Somewhere
Could you?
over the rainbow, way up high. I do. And they love it. And they all know it.
Yeah.
And the reason I love singing it is that it connects to their childhood. It's somehow I see all the people go, oh, and it takes them back.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, we say there's, I think we're going to lose it with Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Thanks for doing this. It's been fantastic.
There is no place like home.
I know there isn't. I don't know why I'm losing it right now, to tell you the truth, but it's just, thank you.
You're
just
welcome.
thank you. And you are such a great representative worldwide, internationally, for this area in Kansas City and, where you were born and raised, and we just love you for it. Thanks.
Thank you. And thank you for everything. I mean, I grew up, listening, always with total class and integrity.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Joyce DiDonato. There's just something about Kansas City.
Really do come. though I can